Welcome to the Church and Culture Podcast, a weekly discussion with Dr. James Emery White on the latest trends happening in culture and where and how the church should respond. Jim is the founding and senior pastor of Mecklenburg Community Church in Charlotte, North Carolina, president of Serious Times, a ministry devoted to exploring the intersection of faith and culture, former professor of theology and culture at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, where he also served as their fourth president, and the author of more than 20 books. I am your host, Alexis Dry, and I can't wait to dive into this week's conversation. Well, hey, Jim, and hey to everybody who's joining us. I wanted to circle back to something that has come up on the podcast quite a handful of times, but that I was just hoping we could give a little bit more time to, considering how prevalent this topic is right now in Christian culture that's really affecting our witness in a not so great way. And that's this whole idea of celebrity pastors. We have been kind of collectively bemoaning, the consistent newspaper headline about these celebrity pastors or leaders who just keep falling in some shape or form. And it's been devastating the Christian community. And like I said, our witness, names like Bill Hybels and Ravi Zacharias and Mark Driscoll. And unfortunately, I could go on and on. But what we haven't thoroughly examined, or I was hoping that maybe we could talk a little bit more about, is the making of these celebrity pastors. I want to talk about, in the current age of the Christian church, how we got here, what we might want to rethink in terms of Christian leaders or moving forward. And so I don't know, Jim, if there is like a working definition for a celebrity pastor that you could maybe provide for us or help us to distinguish like the difference between just a good, effective pastor and a celebrity pastor. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, a couple. First, let me, there's a really good book that was just released by Caitlin Beatty called Celebrities for Jesus that I recently finished reading. And she teases out something in there about fame versus celebrity, that those are two different things. I thought it was a helpful distinction. Fame, she says, arises from a life well lived. It's not a brand well cultivated. It was a life well lived. That's fame. And celebrity really just feeds like mass media and feeds on mass media and turns icons into idols. And so there's this difference between fame and celebrity. And when you said that when do you know if you've turned from being, hopefully an authentic, you mentioned the word good pastor to, some kind of celebrity hot mess, or you view yourself that way. One of the things that I've said to myself and mentoring other pastors as well over the years is when you're in ministry, I often would say, ministry can really be hazardous to your soul. And one of the reasons is because you're in leadership. I don't care if it's a small church or a large church, you're going to have a lot of people treat you like you're the fourth member of the Trinity. And they're just going to award you a very high level of spirituality that you, quite frankly, haven't earned. And the truth is, they don't know whether you treat your wife with dignity. They don't know whether you've had a quiet time or any kind of prayer life of any significance in the last 6 weeks or 6 months. They don't know any of that. They don't know what you're viewing online. But they afford you this level of spirituality, this special status, if you will. And, the dark side of, that's obviously not good, but it's understandable. It's just, people just feel that way toward people who are in vocational ministry or who are priests or pastors or whatever. The danger is when you start beginning to believe your own press reports and you start taking other people's assessment of you as the truth about who you are, and that you really are special and that you really should be treated differently and you really should be viewed as more holy and more special and more whatever. And you begin to buy into that. And so when you start crossing that line and you start catching that kind of stuff, that's where a lot of this begins.
That's interesting because it's almost like celebrity is just as much a mindset as it is, like a reality in terms of followers and appeal. That's interesting. I hadn't really considered that before. there have been Christian celebrities in the past, probably not, but not as many as we have right now. So I'm just wondering, like, is there something that has taken place within culture, or perhaps it's linked to technology, that has really created fertile ground for the uprising, essentially, of these types of celebrities?
Yeah, I mean, one is obvious, and then one maybe less obvious, but could be equally strong. Um, First of all, it is a modern phenomenon. I would say a lot of things connected with the Christian celebrity is a modern phenomenon, as opposed to someone who has Christian fame. Um, it's been driven by mass media. It almost needed mass media to drive it. So you really saw it burst onto the scene with radio and TV, going all the way back to Amy McPherson and what happened there with her, as well as TV and then YouTube and TikTok and so forth. I mean, it's just mass media has gone with the celebrity pastor, Christian. Um, but another dynamic that I don't hear talked about very much, some, but is that as Christianity has waned in the West and gotten less significant and less influential, we become more and more the rise of the nuns and more of a non-Christian secular culture. Christians have grown more and more insecure, and they've grown more. They felt more vulnerable, and they've almost clung to anything or anyone that would help them feel better about their faith, more culturally accepted with their faith. And so they want Christian celebrities and to feel better about themselves. I mean, we can talk all day long about, how, bad celebrity, people seeking the celebrity, but it's not often talked about, hey, well, who are the thousands of people who are, have made them that celebrity and are following them on social media? There's obviously something there within them that wants that preacher with those sneakers, wearing $500 tennis shoes and dressing like, whatever, and acting in a certain way and prancing around on the stage and drawing attention to himself or herself, and websites that's more about their face than it is about a church or whatever, and just the posturing and so forth. So there's something about that seems to make some Christians feel better about themselves. Hey, look at my pastor. Look how cool he is, or how culturally hip he is, or how popular he is, or whatever. I saw him wearing this, and like, wow, so it made them feel better about themselves somehow.
Yeah.
And so whether it's a celebrity pastor or celebrity, we get all excited when we hear about Chris Pratt or Justin Bieber or Kanye West, and all of a sudden it's like, see world, we're okay people, we're cool people.
We're cool.
And Nancy Beach, who was on staff at Willow Creek for a long time, and she made a statement that was actually in Beatty's book about people get refracted light from a celebrity. In other words, somehow if I'm attached to that celebrity, or I go to that church, or it's like somehow it reflects on me. And so it's like almost like, and you do see this in I'm going afield here, but you see this and I've seen this for years, like a hot new teacher comes into this thing, and people hear that, oh, there's this guy who's whatever, and all the Christians want to flock to that church because they got to be where it's happening. They got to go to the it place, or they hear there's this youth ministry over here, so they go back running over there, and it's just, or, oh man, did you hear that worship leader? He's got a new CD out and it's playing on Spotify. Let's all go over there, because I've got to be where it's happening culturally and with celebrity, and it's not a good look.
Yeah, it's like we're looking to these celebrities to legitimize maybe an
Exactly
rocky faith or something. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, some people might say that, just having the right marketing team or, great social media presence can really turn anybody into a celebrity. And I mean, to be honest, you look at some celebrities nowadays and you think that might be the case. But I think because this is such a prevalent issue right now that the church is facing, it's making a lot of people want to take a deeper dive into looking at the exact personality types of the celebrities that we tend to worship, and a matter of saying. And I'm wondering, based on what you've seen as well, are there common denominators of these types of personality types that we have uncovered? Or, yeah.
One word, narcissist. There's an interesting book that we can put in the footnotes as well, show notes as well, called "When Narcissism Comes to the Church."
Hmm.
And there is a sense where there's a preoccupation in certain personalities with reputation, influence, success, platform, power. And I think that recent church planting strategy, and again, I don't want to name names or organizations, but I mean, it's almost like, give me a young 20-something, good-looking, hip, charismatic personality. Okay, that's the job description of a church planner. And even better, that they really want, fame or attention or platform. They haven't even planted the church, but they're already thinking about and dreaming about the conference circuit and books and how many thousands of followers they'll have and large audiences and being treated with ridiculous honor and making lots of money and having massive homes. And it's revolting to me. It's disgusting that that's the vetting process, and it attracts people who, it's almost like, well, if I can't be a rock star, if I can't be a famous athlete, well, I'll go plant a church, because the whole thing is audience, crowds, money, fame, sex, drugs, rock and roll kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a Christian psychologist, Diane Langberg, who said they have a lot of gifts except the gift of humility.
Mm.
And the gift of that kind of servant. So I do think there is something endemic with personalities that lead to this.
That's interesting that you mentioned how they are platformed, because normally when you think of narcissists don't usually recognize that quality of themselves. But what you're saying is that they're not the
Part of
ones
being
who
a
are
narcissist is you would say you're not a narcissist. So
right. Yeah. And so
C.S. Lewis once said, if you want to know the mark of a truly prideful person, it's a person who says they're not prideful. I mean, that's the ultimate prideful statement.
yeah, but what you're saying is that these people are specifically platformed by other organizations that for which this shouldn't be a matter of blindness. Well,
Or they're not even looking at character. They're not looking at, they may look at some theological stuff, but I mean, they're not looking at character. They're not looking at the real fruit of the Spirit. They're looking at talents and abilities and charisma and like speaking ability or something, or how they look, and bypassing, what I would say are far more important things.
yeah. I mean, that makes sense in like the secular world when you're focused on, a bottom line or, a mass appeal or something. But like, when did the church start drinking that water, thinking that having these dynamic personalities is what makes for a good pastor rather than humility or, or commitment to doctrine, or like what happened with the church that made us think that we should do this?
Well, you want some sobering news? It's been with us since the pages of the New Testament.
Hmm.
You're familiar, I'm sure, where Paul would write to churches and warning them of these popular, ear-tickling, gifted orders coming through town that were distorting things. And then Paul would say, I may not be that impressive. My speaking may not be as impressive, but I gave you the gospel. You've read that. I mean, it's in the New Testament. I mean, it's in the New Testament. So it's been there from the beginning, where we're drawn to celebrity. We're drawn to the it factor. We're drawn to those who have the gifts of charismatic gifts. They've got charisma, personality, and effective speakers. And we're insecure, and we want to see someone fit in with culture and reflect culture and be liked by culture, and then we can somehow feel like we're being liked and accepted as well. So I think that it's been with us for the beginning.
Okay, well then that hasn't worked out for us very well. We see that every day in the newspaper, right? So what steps do you think the church should take in terms of reform of how we appoint leaders moving forward?
I have some interesting, to me, I have some diverse thoughts on this. That one response is, people see this bad behavior and leadership and authority abused and misused, and they say, well, the answer is, let's just clamp down on all leaders. Let's just up the accountability voltage as high as it'll go, and I would say, okay, I mean, I hope you have proper accountability, particularly financially. But I mean, don't let accountability become a euphemism for control, and let's not thwart the leadership gift. I mean, leaders are meant to lead, and Romans 16, it's a gift, and it's meant to be deployed and used, and so I fear that all of this that has happened would lead to almost stifling structures that would not be, that would not be helpful. I think the better emphasis, although please hear me say, absolute financial accountability, but let leaders lead. But the key is character. It's character. And so when you're looking at leaders and you're looking at individuals and you're thinking about pastors and people, watch out for narcissism, watch out for anger, and pride and ego. And we all have our pride, we all have our ego, but where is it? Is it something that if the pride and ego that individual has would make a platform or leadership thing toxic to them, and as a result toxic to others, then obviously you've got something there that's a big red flag. Look for humility, and let me say something about humility, and not being a narcissist and not being an egoist. There's this other thing that I've picked up on of late is that if somebody has a large personality, or they do have a teaching gift, or they are a strong leader, they're instantly stamped narcissist. I'm going, have you studied what narcissism is? The psychological disorder of narcissism? That has nothing to do with being a strong leader, or having a large personality, or an outgoing personality, or even being a gifted communicator. So look for humility, which doesn't mean a small personality. It doesn't mean a lack of teaching gifts. And it's not about not being a strong leader. It's about, and this is not original with me, it's one of the most brilliant insights of what I would consider what I'm talking about is from Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, what he called a level 5 leader. And again, we'll put this in the show notes. But a level 5 leader is strong leader, decisive leader, and highly competent and skilled leader. But he cares more about the organization than she or he does themselves. There's a humility built into it, but the humility isn't like this weak-willed, kind of limp-wristed, you push me around kind of type. No, they're strong leaders. And capable leaders, and often can be strong personalities, but it's all for the organization. It's not for themselves. So it's this blend of strong leader and humility. And he calls it a level 5 leader. It's the optimum level of leader. He walks through 4 others. Yeah. And so that's what I think we should look for.
It makes you wonder if being a Christian celebrity can ever be a successful combination of terms. Like all the things that you're mentioning, I wonder if some don't start out that way, that would pass all those tests. But then when you put fame or money or, all of these followers into anyone's hands, and we can change so much. In fact, I remember reading something lately. It was a quote that said, popularity has taken out more Christians than persecution ever has. And so I'm just wondering, do you think you can be, what if you just find yourself, a celebrity without really intending to be? Can that even be maintained? Can you be a successful Christian celebrity?
I'm concerned. Let me back and come around to that and just through a back door. I'm concerned about how many, and I alluded to this earlier, are entering ministry, planting churches, craving celebrity, craving it. Rather than pursuing fame, and not even fame for themselves, but fame for Jesus. And they crave celebrity. They desperately want to be a Christian celebrity. That's what they want. And I remember I was talking to a fellow pastor friend of mine, and he had met with a church planter. And we were having lunch, and he said, Jim, you're not going to believe what this guy said to me. I said, what? He said, oh, I'm supposed to plant and lead a mega church. That's just what I am. That's just what I do. That's just kind of what I was built for. I just, that kind of platform. So yeah, whatever I do, it'll need to be a mega church. I'm going, and he was going like, I don't know what to do with that kind of a starting point and that kind of, craving of platform and celebrity. If notoriety comes of any kind, and it's come to men and women throughout Christian history, pray it comes to seasoned souls that didn't seek it and probably don't particularly want it, but they're mature enough to use it for the cause of Christ and not for the promotion of themselves.
Well, that kind of leads me to my last question then. And I just feel even awkward saying this because I have known you for so long, and I just know that you would never consider yourself to be a celebrity, but Jim, a lot of people would. I mean, you pastor what we would say is a mega church. You're an author. You've written over 20 books. You're internationally known, and yet nobody who would interact with you or be a part of watching you speak or would ever think, oh gosh, this guy's got a celebrity complex. So I imagine there's been some proactive actions or thoughts on your behalf that has protected you from that complex. What are some of those? What makes you different?
Well, first, let me say something to you as someone who is on staff and who knows me and who sees me up close. Thank you for that assessment. That means the world to me. Second, I don't know that anything is different for me. I'm as sin stained and as sin soaked and as sin tainted as anyone. But if I have been able to walk the line, and I can be as self-deceived as anybody that I haven't or I'm not, but if I have been able to walk the line, I think it would be because I care more about being than doing, about building than being known. In truth, and you know this about me, I'm a flaming introvert, and I don't like recognition. So maybe that's a built-in protection that I can claim no credit for. But most of what I've done that has involved that kind of platform stuff has really been resisted. I remember. I think even my last 5, 6, 7 books, I just refuse for even there to be a photograph of me. I just have no interest in that. I just have no interest in that and don't want it. Not because I'm trying to sound more noble than I am. I don't know. There's a revulsion of sorts. But my dreams were very specific. I didn't start out wanting celebrity. I didn't start out saying, oh, I want a big church or anything like that. I wanted an effective church. I wanted a church that was going to reach people. That's what I cared about. And but what my dreams were very specific. I wanted a family. I wanted to be married, and I wanted children, and I wanted to, as God progressively led me, I wanted to lead a church, plant a church that was the church. I just had that dream, that passion, that vision for the church being the church. And I wanted to live a life that made a difference for Jesus. I don't know what it would be. I just didn't want my life to be inconsequential. It didn't have to be known. I just didn't want to stand before God and have a life that didn't do something for him that could. So I wanted to live a life of significance in that sense. I just wanted to make a difference for Jesus. It didn't, and then I think the last thing is that whatever it was, I wanted to finish well. I want those closest to me that to hopefully think well of me, and that there wasn't any kind of deeply entrenched shadow life where I mistreated my wife behind closed doors, or I didn't love my children, or my children grew up seething with resentment toward me. I want to finish well. And so those were my dreams. And I think that, my dreams just didn't have anything to do with anything else.
I love that. And I love how, with all that you just mentioned about your dreams and your desires, like I feel like that those are the exact things that we all need to be praying for our pastors. If you are in ministry or you attend a church, and just thinking about what Jim's been talking about, how the world is craving celebrities and the pressure, and then, the dark side of whenever, if that status is achieved, that we don't want that for our Christian leaders. And so just praying, essentially just through that list, Jim, that you just gave, that our leaders or pastors would be able to have families and effective churches and to finish well. And what a beautiful thing to be praying for and guarding our leaders about. So yeah, I hope this is the last time we talk about this. I have a feeling it won't be, but this was really helpful. I'm appreciative that we were able to dig into this topic a little bit more deeply. So thank you again. And thank you for those of you who spent some time listening to this. And we hope you'll tune in again next week.